call to order, I guess. Would you like to do the roll call?
Sure. I almost called you Trustee Fruth. That's really funny. Trustee Foss.
Here.
Trustee Fairfax is here, and Trustee Chuckalworthy
Is here.
and Lee.
Here. Hi. Hi. Okay, so we got the minutes for the executive search committee meetings. Are there any questions? So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion of the minutes or questions? No. All right, so in that case, all those who approve say aye. Aye. Any abstentions or nays? Okay, excellent. I did not get any public comments. Did you get anything?
No comments.
Did either of you get public comments about this meeting? Okay. And there's nobody here and nobody signed up to give public comments. So that means I think we can go straight.
I have no public comments to the board, but I have had comments to me.
Okay.
So,
okay.
but I don't think those
aren't, right, those are the public comments that would need to go into the record, right?
Right.
Okay. So then our executive director search, our friends from Koya are here. Hey, hi.
Hi.
Oh, there's Tricia too. Hi.
Hi.
So search, am I right? The search, how's this going? How's it going?
Yeah, this is going to be kind of our last meeting before things get exciting next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person. Really, we just have some logistics to kind of review with you and see what questions you have, or a couple of questions that came up from staff. We met with leadership and staff this week in various prep sessions for next week, but I'm going to kick it to Amber to just talk about the things we just want to make sure we're clear on and tidy up logistically.
Awesome. Hi all. I just want to give you a sense of what to expect, because there are a lot of things happening this week, next week, the following. I'm going to say all of this out loud, but we'll also send it in a follow-up email so that if it's helpful to have that, you've got it kind of in a written spot as well. As Trisha mentioned earlier this week, we did meet with the leadership team. Everyone was there, bar one person who was out of office, but the team will get that individual kind of up to speed. The leadership team has created their own list of questions informed by the ones that we shared, and they're planning to kind of ask the same questions to every single candidate during their time with folks. We also this morning, following that meeting with the leadership team, we sent 2 emails, one to staff, all staff as a reminder about the open office hours this morning, and one to the management team, giving them a little bit more information than the average staff member given their position in management. This morning, we had open office hours with staff. We had about 20 people come. Some of the questions that were asked, very straightforward, easy to answer. There are a couple of outstanding that Trisha will go over with us after we get kind of through this calendar of events. And then this morning, you also received the reference reports. Those were shared with the search committee and the rest of the board members. They're meaty, so I don't expect anybody to have looked at them in detail at this point, since you just got them a couple hours ago, but wanted to get those to you as soon as possible so they can inform kind of your next steps with candidates or questions you might have for them next week. I will say there were no findings that were unexpected or significant or concerning. I think you'll get more detail about each of the candidates, their working style, their leadership style, their values alignment in those reference reports. And I think there's some interesting stories in there, like Greg is somebody is.
No, open session, Amber.
Yep,
sorry.
yep, sorry, that's my fault. There's an individual who has experience as a mascot, for example. So you'll find interesting information in those documents, but nothing surprising. We are meeting, of course, today. We'll go over some questions, and then following this, we will send an answer to staff about some of the questions they're raising. that we want to discuss with you today. And then we will ensure that all of this these logistics are sent over to you as well. Next week, a couple of things that are happening. We've asked for staff to submit questions to be asked of candidates during the meet and greets. We will circulate those on Monday as an FYI, so you have a sense of what questions will be asked prior to the interviews on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. We will be sending a reminder to staff and the leadership team to complete their feedback forms. And then on the 17th, we are closing the feedback forms, and Trish and I will compile a feedback report, which we'll send to you end of day the 17th, so that you have before your board meeting on the 18th. That is a quick turnaround. So as a reminder, we have a backup meeting for the board scheduled for the 20th in case we need more time to digest all of the information that you've gotten and debrief the interviews that you're all having before a decision is made.
Thanks, Amber.
Can we get more volume? Is there any way?
Josh is gonna see if he can turn it up.
Again,
We're doing
most,
volume check.
okay, can you hear me at all right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should I talk or do you want to wait until? Is someone coming in to check the volume? Or are
Yes.
we
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, it does look like it's all the way up.
It's, yes, it's currently as high as it can go on our end, so they just might need to project on their end a little more.
Thank you.
Okay. How about on the TV itself?
So it's only coming out through this
Oh, okay.
system here.
Got it.
Apologize. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Sorry, Trish, go ahead. Sorry?
It is coming from here?
It's coming from this system and not from the TV.
So that's the problem. I'm looking there and then like, got it. I may just not have to not look at you. Look at the owl.
I can't tell where you're looking at any point, if that makes you feel better. Any questions from what Amber just said? Like we said, this is all gonna get an email. We're gonna walk through every step as we go through, make you alert, but we also know there's a lot of emails, so we just wanted to verbally kind of go over some things.
I guess my question is only about the search committee meeting. I think we still have one on the books for a couple of weeks from now. And we should, it seems like it's the week after the full board meeting, the potential placeholder for a second board meeting, and it's the day after that, right? So we should just keep that on the books for now, or do you have a plan for what we may be happening then?
It might be a debrief if we're done. It is useful, I think, for us and for the library to kind of wrap up like what things went well, what didn't, so that if you need this information in the future, you've got it, and that we've given you everything that we have and kind of internally for kind of your records that you might need that you might not have at this point. But if there are any kind of outstanding to-dos with next steps, it's useful to have that time to leverage if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm just not remembering right now at this moment after all of the time that we've worked with you, that's been so great. Is there any part of onboarding that you are involved with or set us up for?
So in terms of onboarding, like we keep in touch with you and with the candidate and check in every 3, 6, 9 months. We have an onboarding toolkit we can share with you. But if there is something at the end of this that you are saying, we actually need someone to come in and facilitate an onboarding session, that is a separate service that we have. And that is like meeting with the board and the candidate in 6 different meetings, making sure they're connecting. Like it's actually pretty intensive. So that would be, I'm sure you'd want to discuss if that's like an extra piece.
Okay, thank you. Can you send us some information about that just so we have the knowledge?
Sure. I am Just give me 1 second. I'm actually asking Amber this, but maybe I should ask all of you. It's just, the questions coming from staff, I just didn't know if it was an open session thing or a closed session thing. I think it's fine and open.
I think as long as there's no confidentiality breach, obviously of the staff, but also
Yeah.
in those questions of identity stuff for the candidates. I think
Okay.
otherwise it should probably,
What was
needs
the-
to happen in open
What
session.
was promised to staff when they gave those questions in terms of confidentiality?
That we would ask them of you and report back to them. I don't think there are any confidentiality
Yeah.
concerns. They're logistical.
Yeah, okay, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure. One asked about recording the meet and greet for those that can't come in. So I don't know how that would work. Because the way that we're structuring this is they're gonna candidates will give an opening statement, they'll answer 3 to 4 questions, then mingle, and I'm just wondering how that will actually show up on a recording, but there was a question because some people, since the library is open, people will be sort of able to pop in and out and coming in shifts, so I wanted to run that by you.
I think, and one of the things we flagged for is it might just depend on the space and whether or not it's like logistically technically possible given the space with like, is there something that could do the recording that would have the audio? And it might be that if there is, what we're thinking about is just the opening statement and those 3 to 4 questions, and then the mingling portion is not recorded. And that might address a concern for any staff members who don't want to be on a recording, because it would only be the candidate's opening statement and their questions. It wouldn't be staff members recorded in that instance.
So can you remind me, because of course I was not here for the full board meeting, but the decision was to keep the candidates confidential. I mean, the staff will know, but even publicly, we're not releasing information about the candidates, right? So I'm wondering if that is a complication in the recording issue,
Yeah.
because we would, like, where would we host that recording? For instance, it wouldn't go where where the recordings of these meetings go, because obviously that's public facing. So it seems like it would be,
Yeah, I mean, if we just created a video, I'm just thinking how we would get that out to all staff, like either as an attachment to like an all staff email. There really isn't a good like physical place to host it. Maybe the staff intranet, but I mean that the confidentiality piece, like, it's 127 employees. These videos, I don't have any expectation that people would like start sending it out to the community or anything like that, but that's kind of a fuzzy gray area of like, if we have the video, how do you make that available and still maintain that confidentiality of the candidate?
Right, because there's no mechanism, like, what's the mechanism for them to watch it? Like with our closed session recordings, there's a very formal kind of the only way and the only people,
Right.
and all of that, and
well, I
2 people at the same time and not leaving the building and all, there's a lot of
Yeah.
protections around it, and so I'm not sure how we would do that, but I certainly understand the question and the need.
Yes.
Lee, do you think, you said something about the intranet, the staff intranet, and it feels like that would be something that's like password protected and limited only to, the access to the intranet, right?
I believe it is. That is a possibility if we could figure out, like maybe just include a link or something like that. So LT is going to man the service desk, so we can
Okay.
get as many staff back here. But I have been getting questions from staff who are like, I can't come to the first part, I can only come to the second part. And so, yeah, I understand that like the presentation and the answering of the questions is gonna be important for people who are not here. I can sit down and I can talk with communications and IT and see if there's a way that we can have it up on the intranet so that it's available to staff to watch it, but that is like completely like internal. That might solve that issue.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. If you could check in on it, that would be great.
Yeah, and another option, if it can't be recorded, it's not exactly, like, I can see why this would cause some question for folks, but like, maybe it's notes. Maybe we provide a summary of like, generally, this is what the person said in their introduction, and these were the questions posed and generally how they answered them. Like, if recording is just completely off the table for the logistics of it, maybe there's a kind of middle ground of, we'll get you as much information as we can without a recording.
The recording, like the logistics of recording isn't an issue of like collecting the recording because the room is set up for that, right? Okay.
So what we can do, so we've decided to have it in the Scoville room.
Oh.
Just because this is a staff-only space. So actually, like, we have
So it's not in the
cameras.
veterans.
The veterans was booked.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, so right now we're talking about like logistics, like how to get like 50 staff members in here, and maybe we'll have refreshments in the admin hall, and so people can kind of move back and forth. But we have camera equipment, like we can set something up that can easily record the first part of it.
Okay. I was thinking it was the veterans room, I just assumed that, I'm sorry.
So will you let us know how the conversation goes with Judy and I guess Joshua Weber from IT?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when we follow up with staff, we'll just let them know that we're looking into it. And, you know, we had talked a bit about confidentiality on the staff prep call, and people totally understood. It was just genuine interest in wanting to hear from the candidates.
And that makes perfect sense.
And we're also in a culture now, kind of post-pandemic, where like things are accessible that way, and it's a natural thing to do. Like I often will register for, some webinar with work, and knowing that I can't make it, but knowing that then I get access to the recording. I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's how we function, and we have to just make sure that we keep the confidentiality piece in place.
Right. This is actually, it was a question around, like, are we going to be able to see candidate cover letters? And we had talked about putting physical copies of cover letters and resumes out for people. I had started to feel like it might be a good idea that those are actually out on Monday. Like giving some time to read and digest it before going in Tuesday to the interviews. If we could possibly do that. And I'm going to meet with you, Lee, so like we could, work on that too. On Monday. But I wanted to give you a heads up, but I think it might be nice to give staff some courtesy to be able to, they seem very genuinely interested in wanting to ask questions of candidates, but they don't know the candidates yet. So I think it was hard for them to get their head around it. So if we could give them some heads up, I think it might be.
When are they asked to submit their questions?
They were asked yesterday, and then the deadline is, I believe,
Midday Monday.
Yeah.
So.
But the questions
giving-
shouldn't be specific to each candidate because we're asking the same questions of all candidates. So the questions shouldn't be informed by the actual application review. That might just provide context for any questions that candidates want to ask, like during the mingling bit.
The meet and greet, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thanks for refreshing our memory. We had
Yeah.
a little step back from things.
Yeah, it was a pretty good turnout at the staff prep, but there weren't a lot of questions. And so it made me think like, well, maybe there's a gap of information here and I'd like to get them more information with also respecting confidentiality. Jill.
And what's the mechanism for them to see them on Monday? Is it like physical hard, like printed copies?
Yeah, I was thinking we would print copies, we would put them in binders, either leave them here in the Scoville room, or I've got a table outside my office so people can just come by when they're free to have a look at them.
And they'll be redacted of personal information, like phone numbers or emails or addresses, anything like that.
And maybe we don't make 100 copies. Maybe it's just.
No, I was thinking one copy of each and just have them available. I wouldn't make multiple copies and then place them around the library. Like we could just keep it in here.
Yeah.
We may just want to reiterate with staff the confidentiality and that they not take pictures of, I'm just, again, in our information age and our data age, that like, it's just kind of second nature. Oh, I don't have much time, let me just take a picture and then I can read it later. Not with any ill intent, but just trying to keep the confidentiality. Does that make sense, or does that?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking I probably would do that exact thing.
Exactly,
Or
right?
me, I mean, yeah,
I only have a minute, like, so let me just do this and then I'll read it later, and
yeah.
then things just get looser.
But I think at this point, we have put in so many parameters of, trying to keep this confidential. And honestly, in a typical search, for staff, might send out things electronically, like within 24 hours of an interview. So at this point, at that point, like, it's a little bit less confidential. People are gonna start to find out.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Maybe we may be able to put a cute little note there that says reminder, highly confidential.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can do that.
Those were the questions I had about staff. Anything else, Amber, that's on your mind?
I think the only other logistic is for the board interviews. I've been working with Billy to figure out refreshments for the board portion of the day on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. In speaking with Matt yesterday, he suggested just kind of beverages and snacks and asking board members to do whatever else they need to kind of take care of themselves if there's more needed beyond that. Wanted to run that all by folks here, see how that felt, and to make sure if there was any other dietary restrictions we should be aware of, that we are aware of those. I know no mozzarella. And then of course would just generally plan for vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian options. So there is a variety, but if there's anything else we need to know, would love to know that as we're planning to get you some snacks and beverages.
I honestly think with the logistics of the timing and like people coming from work and having to be here at 5, and the candidates, I think it makes sense to have a little bit more than just a snack, and then people are, I don't know, again, keeping it in line with what we do for staff, not wanting to do anything extravagant, but like logistically making this function. I'm not sure, I wish Matt would join our meeting.
I actually spoke with Matt, and he said he was expecting like water and snacks. He wasn't expecting a sandwich tray.
Right, because he next going out to dinner, and then we had the committee meeting and talked about the fact that timing was really tight for both the candidates and for board members. I mean, already I think for board members to be here at 5, those of us who are working are gonna have to leave work early. So I think, and again, for the candidates, there's not a lot of gap there that they have. They've got a really busy day. And I think having sandwiches is just not that big a deal.
Right.
So we can take the fall for Matt on that, if needed. But I just pretty strongly feel like that we need to.
So Tricia.
Even if we, like, I will give, whatever is financially appropriate, I would be happy to contribute to it, but having it available, I think not having it available, I think is kind of not gracious for the candidates or board members that are working.
So Tricia and Amber, where are Koya going to be staying next week?
Where am I staying?
Yeah.
At the Carlton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where the candidates will also be?
Yep.
Were you
So-
thinking about, okay. Were you thinking, Ted, about food options?
No, I'm just wondering, like, just the logistics of it all.
Okay. So regarding the, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. What Susanna is saying makes a lot of sense to me, honestly, but I also was not here for the meeting, so I don't know.
Yeah, and Matt wasn't here for the meeting, so the committee, I think, came to a good place. I mean, we didn't hear the feedback on what the cost estimates were and all of that, so You know,
So
I certainly agree with, you know, the idea that 7 of us and, you know, for 3 nights in a row, the cost of going to a restaurant and drinks and, you know, tipping and, you know, all of that is more than we should be doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that's been done in years past, and that's not, you know, the expense of going out to eat is significant now, so I completely believe that that makes a lot of sense, but not having food for candidates and board members, simple food, when they're busy all day, and then you know, we start at 5 and the rest of us are working. I think there needs to be food, and if I need to somehow, if it's financially appropriate, pay for it, I will, but I feel pretty strongly that we need to have something available and not say that we have to, like, between leaving work early, find a way to stop and get some food.
I hear you.
And it's awkward. I mean, I brought my own lunch today, and that's awkward. I come in here and it's not a gracious,
Well, today.
So
is
I think, yeah,
I know,
okay.
but I'm saying, doing that on a day that.
I think that,
interviewing,
and I think that, yeah, and I definitely agree with your point that doing that with candidates, you know, because obviously it's even more awkward for candidates to bring their own food, and they won't, because they're there to like talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just no way that anybody would, so
I'm just thinking about, you know, when we have our regular board meeting, they start at 6:30. And we're all scrambling to get out of work, get back from the loop or wherever we work, get some food and bring it, you know, and we're often like texting each other, hey, I'm stopping at, you know, so-and-so, do you want me to pick up something for you? I mean, that's on a, you know, once a month board meeting that starts at 6:30. So you translate that to 3 nights in a row on work night, you know, on work days. I just.
Well, do we have Amber, you said you were talking to Billy maybe about the expense of all of it. Do we have like a sense of what it would cost?
Billy did give me a list of restaurants that Oak Park Public Library routinely uses for this sort of thing. I don't have a good cost estimate at the moment because I would like to get everybody's dietary restrictions, and there is a difference between like snacks and the like full. So if we're going kind of full, dietary restrictions would be great. If there's anything else I should be aware of, I can make a better menu across 3 days with 3 different organizations then. And I think could come back to you by end of day with a
Yeah, I
better.
mean, here's the reality. Coming out of the leadership team meeting, I think that there was some concern expressed about budget, but we approved the budget, and we, as the board, in the last board meeting, we're going to be well under that budget. So.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, if that's what the board wants, like a tray of sandwiches or something, 3 days, like that's not going to be an enormous cost.
Yeah, I'm not talking like, you know,
No,
champagne and caviar or anything. I'm just saying something to like give us sustenance so that we're like functioning at our best and doing it in a way that is gracious and easy. Yeah, and you know,
and I
package
think
of canned water from Costco, I'm happy to pick up,
yeah, right.
you know?
I was gonna sort of say the same thing. I was like, we could.
We will handle, we're capable of handling all of that. But yeah, if you guys decide that that's what you need, it's not, I mean, there is concern about cost, but if you decide this is what we have, then we'll make it work.
I'm sorry, I'm not like trying to throw the leadership team under the bus in any way. I just know that there's people that are thinking about the budget. Was leadership made aware of what the budget was? Because that was an open session last board meeting.
They were, but yeah, it just depends on if we remembered.
Okay.
Is there any way to like make sure that we say, we practice and then we say the whole coming in under budget? Do you know what I mean? I think that that's, because I think that the concern around budget is important, but it doesn't seem like anybody's objecting to an actual specific amount of money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I
Okay.
think that, you know, that way, I don't know. I was actually trying to find, I kept getting distracted, but I was actually trying to find the candidates' potential itinerary, you know?
I will
So
say
we
from candidates at the moment, we're under, and this is assuming, so in terms of the budget, assuming that folks take the full per diem, which is $69 a day, and assuming maximum cost for other aspects of travel, we are still under 2,500 by a fair amount. And if they don't take and ask for reimbursement, for example, for that full per diem, because maybe they don't need parking, right? Or they don't get a snack or whatever that might be. If they don't take that full 69, we'll be even lower under that kind of upper 2,500. And that's we're budgeting pretty conservatively. I would say we're probably closer to 2,000, even if they do take the maximum everything.
Now that's not counting me. That's just candidates.
And then with Trisha's travel and stay, I think we are still well below the 6,000. So personally, I think we can figure out how to have some food there and still come in well below budget. But just with the kind of strength of the budget question asked at leadership team, we did check, Trisha checked with Matt, and we kind of wanted to make sure that we were okay as we were planning.
Yeah, I mean, I can also tell Matt this, but I think if anybody at Cora talks to Matt first, you can tell him that we launched a coup and that his whatever thing to keep us on track was overturned.
Oh my God, you really did have 2 weeks of, your humor is like back in like full force.
That's great. I did talk to Matt. I just wanted to get approval because I'm going to be there for the week. So my expenses are a little bit higher and I just wanted to make sure I got clearance and that confirming still wanted Koya to be there, and he confirmed yes.
And not only that, I think that, yeah, you should feel free to eat while you're here too. I hope that, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be facetious about the budget question, but I think that
Yeah.
if we're under budget, we can make options work under budget. And if it needs to be heavy snacks instead of light dinner that we pose it, we can think about that, but
I think the importance is having something that's easy to eat, like, come in, easy to get, easy to eat,
yeah.
serves everybody's dietary restrictions. I'm assuming you're getting any dietary restrictions from candidates. I want to make sure that we're, thoughtful and gracious to them. So yeah, I think we can still be fiscally responsible and have enough sustenance to actually do these 3 interviews 3 nights in a row on a work day.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be honest, I'm hungry now talking about it.
If only I could offer you some of my green beans.
Okay, let's see what
yeah.
else.
I
think that, yeah, go ahead.
I think we're about to say the same thing. You do it, Trisha.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I guess the next thing would be just about the board session. The candidate is going to open up with a bit of a statement, and then there are some questions that are in that document. It is meant to be conversational, and I'm sure that you're all probably wanting to give some space for the board members to ask their questions. So I don't, no one else is here in addition to the search committee. I think that you were all going to be fine, but if there's any additional prep you think people need.
No, we were talking about this right before the meeting, but I was actually, I mean, we're still very much embracing the questions are going to be looser, right, for the in-person interviews from the board, because I didn't actually get any feedback on the questions that we'd sent. So I'm assuming that means we don't have to feel as beholden to those as we do to make sure that board members, and as Suzanne pointed out, especially board members who are not on the search committee and haven't had a chance to talk to the candidates, can like respond to the statement and, you know, like ask their other, not, I'm sorry, not to discourage any of us, obviously, from asking our questions either, but, so I just wanted to make sure that that is still our assumption of how that board interview is going to unfold. Okay, and there's.
I was just gonna say, I would say that, you know, it is the time for anybody that's been on the committee to really think about any outstanding questions that you have that are more directed to them. That could be lingering as you go into these final stages.
Okay, and everybody has completed the mitigating bias training?
Yes, I had a meeting with Maya last Friday,
Okay.
Monday, one-on-one. She was the last person to complete.
Okay. And true on the leadership team side?
We got all the documentation.
Okay.
Was there like a formal kind of training or just the documentation?
No, just the documentation, but we've all read the packet, so.
Okay.
Are you going to patent that presentation of the mitigating bias?
Technically, it's already been patented.
I really did appreciate it because I've done so much, you know, kind of anti-bias, mitigating bias training, all of that, and there were still areas in there that were so specific to this process that I thought were really valuable. Appreciate it.
And I appreciate it. There was a staff question about that too, and they want the extra material, so we're gonna follow up with that for staff as well.
Okay. That's great.
That is great. It's good to hear. Not surprising, but good to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, staff
So
were really
you're-
nice and gracious and thanked us for having the prep session, and they seem excited.
Yeah, people are
Yeah.
excited. It's become real.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see
what I
it.
said, and
Yeah.
I just offered our emails. I'm like, if anything comes up between now and then, just reach out, pull me aside if you see me Monday, just to, because it is I think it felt like things were starting to get real for them, and you know, they're putting their minds.
So you were at, oh, right, because that whole part is on Monday, right? You were asking Monterima earlier for a schedule of the days, and I think it was sent to us, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was just trying to find it while I was talking at the same time, and I couldn't do
Right.
that.
Did you find it?
No, but then we moved on, so, I mean,
Okay.
it was in relation to trying to figure out when the candidate would have actually gotten a chance to eat last, or
Oh,
something
yeah,
that
no, it was a
that I
little
wanted to make
cramped.
sure.
That
They
timing
will,
was pretty cramped.
So they'll have lunch, and that ends at 2:15, and then from 3:30 to 4:30, they'll have access to cookies and tea and that kind of snacks. So they will have eaten a few times before they meet with you, but having something available makes sense.
I'm sorry, I don't wanna put this framework on Suzanne, but for sure, my maternal instinct is kicking in. Like, I can't tell you, the other day, there was some kid in a whatever cab, and I was like so convinced that this, you know, person old enough to drive like a lift was not wearing enough layers, and I'm just like, I need to like stop being worried that other people are like, they're all adults, they will, you know, it'll be okay, but
But in this situation,
It is
where
different.
we are hosting them, literally, and
Yes.
I think, you know, having been on the other side of that, you know, on campuses, it's
long
important
as
that
the
people
plumbing
are
works in
treated
the Carlton.
respectfully and everything, you know?
I was trying to think about so we're going to be here, I think the logistics of the meeting and everything seemed fine. I had the question about the mitigating bias training. No, I can't remember. There was something else that I wanted to make sure that we had, anyway, it'll come back to me.
And we're still doing closed session, right, for some specifics around the candidates and the questions today, or no? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Did Lee say yes?
Lee
Yes.
said yes.
Okay,
You've got the links for the closed session?
yep.
Do we have anything more?
For open session?
So Tricia, do you need any logistics issues with their visits here? Because I have a car, I can help with kinds of things, and I blocked off those 3 days completely. So if there's anything that you need, just somebody
Thank
to
you.
kind of hop in, I can do that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. No, you said that the Carlton was in walking distance to Oak Park, right?
Right?
It's in Oak Park and it's walking distance
Yeah.
to the library.
Yeah, so I think right now I'm fine. Lee's been gracious. I'm gonna meet with Lee on Monday just to do a walkthrough and then make sure I have a place to do a little bit of work in between. So I think I'm fine for now, but thank you.
Yeah.
And it's
I
nice
think
to know that you're kind of around and on call, if you will.
I have some availability on Monday.
And I
but not
will
the others.
provide you, Tricia, with my cell phone number too, so that I will be on call.
Great.
And to that point, like being at the Carlton, the nice thing is that everything is in walking distance. Like, you know, places to get food, get to the library, like, you know, and get a sense of Oak Park, you know. So I think that's like financially responsible choice in terms of people not having to take Ubers and cabs and, you know, all of that. From going.
I did price it out. I priced out everything. I priced out, because actually there were some places cheaper in the city, but then you count a car and the hotel parking and Ubers, and I calculated it all, and it was still better to stay in Oak Park, so.
Right, or even, yeah.
But if you need an umbrella or whatever, you can call me.
Okay. Great.
Can you tell we're pleased with Koya's, yeah.
Yeah, you know, Ted's usually very reticent about offering his umbrella. It's not, it's not everybody who gets that. So should we, maybe if we're done with open session questions, maybe we move to closed session to see if there's any conversation that needs to happen there about specifics that in some way would like either compromise the confidentiality of the candidates or like speak about interview questions that we don't want circulating beforehand. Okay, so we'll see you in closed session? Oh, wait, no, sorry. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, thank you. All right, so all those in favor and any nays or abstentions? Okay, perfect. All right, we'll see you in closed session. Okay, we're back in open session. Having concluded the work set forth in our agenda, I declare us adjourned.